How y'all doing today? It's your boy Jermaine from Shovel Nose Hogs back with another video. And so with this video, instead of doing like a feeding video like I do for most of my other ones, I actually want to give a thorough breakdown of each one of my hognose snakes and kind of get into the genetics, just so you can know what makes up each hognose, the different mutations, as well as is the mutation recessive, is it an incomplete dominant, and basically what those terms mean, and pretty much how you can combine different traits to make a color morph of a hognose. So this video is basically for anybody that's a beginner to hognose and kind of want to learn a little more about the different morphs and actually what the morphs look like when you combine them. So hopefully you enjoy this video and you find it helpful. So y'all stay tuned. All right, so the first snake I'm going to show you is my girl Sassy. She is my youngest female hognose, and she is what is considered a normal plains hognose, or the wild type pattern. So she doesn't have any visual morphs, and so this is actually what you'll usually see in the wild. As you can see, she has a very busy pattern. She's a kind of brownish color, and they also come in greens as well as reds with the wild type. But you can kind of tell if it's a wild type by the very busy pattern, and then their belly is usually dark and it has a checkering, as you can see if she cooperates. You can see the checkering. And so yeah, so this is just a plains hognose snake, the cheapest type, and a lot of people like this morph right here. Well, not really this morph. They like the busy pattern, don't really like the morphs. But yeah. So next up is my hognose. His name is Steve, and he is what's considered the anaconda morph. So he's basically a normal, but with a reduced pattern. So the conda gene is what's considered an incomplete dominant. So that means that he only needs one copy of that trait in order to visually express the mutation. So he either got one copy from his mom or his dad. And whenever you have the conda or the anaconda trait, it reduces the pattern. Now, since it's an incomplete dominant, that means that it has a super form. So that means the super form happens when the animal has two copies of the trait. So if he was a super conda and had two copies of the trait, then his pattern would be even more reduced. And so the super condas only have a pattern on their head, and the rest of their body is patternless. And another telltale sign of a conda is their belly is almost jet black. Some of them, like Steve, has a little bit of checkering, but for the most part, it's a lot darker than a normal wild type. And also, if you look at his belly, right above the black, you'll see a stripe of white. And that is one of the best telltale signs, other than the pattern reduction, if your snake has the conda gene. So putting these guys side by side, you can definitely see the pattern reduction in Steve compared to Sassy, which is the wild type. Alright, so the next snake I'm going to show you is Tofu, and she is just like Steve. She is an anaconda, so she has one copy of the gene. So as you can see when I pull her out, she has a very reduced pattern, and when you look at her belly is almost solid black. And then on the sides, just because she's kind of white, it's kind of hard to see, but above that black is usually a stripe of white. And so she also may be an Arctic. I don't think she is, but I will discuss that when I get to Noodle. So just like Steve, she is an anaconda hognose. All right, so the next snake I want to show you is my boy Noodle. And so he has two visual genes, or two visual morphs. He has the Arctic morph as well as the albino morph. And so the Arctic morph is similar to the conda in the instance that it is an incomplete dominant. So he has one Arctic copy from either his dad or his mom. If he had two copies, he would be what's considered a super Arctic. He also has the albino gene, which is a recessive. So he actually needs two copies, one copy from his mom and one copy from his dad, in order to visually see that albino trait. So when you combine the Arctic gene with the albino, you get him. So by itself, the Arctic is a form of an axanthic. So basically you usually have an animal that has more of a white background, grayish background, and then around their pattern, especially their head pattern, is usually outlined in dark black or melanin. And as they age and they shed, they have more contrast with their pattern and their background color. So usually their background gets a little lighter, and then you'll start seeing like the outlines get a little darker. And when you have the super form of the Arctic gene, then you really start seeing a huge contrast. You'll start seeing that background even more of a vibrant white, and you'll start seeing more of the melanin or that dark color expressed even richer and deeper. And so the albino trait is usually pretty much the lack of melanin, so the lack of the black pigment. So you usually see a snake with red eyes as well as like a light orange color on their pattern with a white background. Sometimes you'll see them with high yellow colors or even high orange colors or high red colors. And so when you combine the albino and Arctic trait, you actually get more of a yellowish, greenish animal, which you see he is. So I'm not sure if the camera can pick up, it definitely can pick up the yellow, but going towards his tail is more of a lime green color. Alright, so the last hognose I want to show you is my girl Cheeto, and she's what's considered a sunburst hognose. So she has two visual genes that are combined together to give her her color. And so she is half albino and then half sable. So albino is pretty much what I went over when I was covering Noodle. Pretty much the lack of that black pigment giving you those oranges, those yellows and those reds and red eyes. Also the sable gene is another recessive gene. So she got a copy of the sable from her dad and her mom. And the sable is a very dark animal. It's probably one of the darkest hognose morphs out right now. And so when you combine those two, you actually get a snake that has this vibrant orange color. And as you can also see, her pattern is highlighted in dark orange, which is very different than just a regular albino. You actually have some extreme red albinos that kind of have a similar pattern to her. They'll have more of a white background, but as you can see, her background is orange, a lighter orange, and then her pattern is highlighted by this dark, vibrant orange. And so that's basically the hognoses that I have right now. Hopefully I'll get some more in the future.